Welcome to Brooklyn, New York. I am Alexis and I live in this apartment with my husband. I am a full-time artist and my husband is a musician and a recording engineer, and I have been putting off making this video for over a year because I kept thinking that I would get everything just right and then it would be the right time to film this. But I don't know, man. I am tired of waiting for just right, because if you really think about it, nothing is ever really perfect. And so I'm not going to wait for perfect anymore, and I am just going to share my home with anyone who might be interested. About this time a year ago, I did an entire apartment makeover. And I shared each one of the rooms as they were completed, but I had a lot of requests for an actual apartment tour. So welcome to my apartment. A few facts. We moved into this apartment in 2011. It is now 2025. I was 27 when I moved into this apartment, and it has seen many iterations, but my hope in sharing this with all of you is to just give you a glimpse into a very realistic life in the city. I think there are a lot of aspirational videos out there, and while those are nice, that is not what this is. This is a very authentic view into the life of two creatives surviving in the city. And so if that sounds like something you're into, I invite you to stick around. I'm just gonna take you along as we walk through each room and maybe share some of the things that make this apartment a home. I think that New York is such a transient place. I know New York is such a transient place. People come for 2 to 5 years and then they leave. I have been in New York since 2008, so I don't know, very near 20 years, and we don't foresee leaving anytime. I was gonna say anytime in the near future, but anytime. And so part of moving to a city and committing to the city is making an apartment a home. And that has been a very slow process. I think a lot of people rush into decorating and trying to make sense of an apartment for a short period of time. But if you have a home, you know that that vibe takes years to cultivate. And it has taken a long time for us to do so. And so I'm going to share with you all, I'm going to say it again, a very authentic view into a home here in Brooklyn, New York. And I hope that you enjoy our time together, and I hope that, I don't know, maybe you see how people can really make this work. Oh, but more facts. Okay, so a couple of facts. We moved in 2011. And this apartment is about 500 square feet. I think it's like 510 square feet. And we currently pay $1,800 a month for rent. When we moved in 2011, it was $1,275. And our landlord, I don't know, did us a solid and just very insignificantly increased our rent. But now that everything is digitized, we have seen a much more consistent raise in the prices as we re-sign our 2-year leases. So we'll see how much longer we have this deal. It's not rent stabilized, and it is a railroad apartment. I always joke that we kind of live in a hallway. In our living room, I think it's like 9.5 feet wide, because that's where the hallway is outside. And then at the ends of the apartment, we have a little bit more space. So I think that's like most of the facts. Let's get into the tour. All right, so we're gonna start in the kitchen because this is our front door right here, and it opens up into this space. We've had many configurations of our kitchen over the years, but I think that this is just what works best for us. So I painted this wall. Hand painted it with a stencil and 20 rolls of blue tape. I found a wallpaper that I liked, but I didn't want to pay for the wallpaper, and I had convinced myself that it would be easy enough to recreate. And it took me 5 days. I don't know, it's funny, I always say I don't know if I would do it again, but honestly, this is my favorite space in the whole apartment. I really love this wall. When I first finished it, I remember looking at it and thinking like, oh no, what did I do? I hate it. Because I had just spent 5 days staring at it. And now, 5 years later, I love it. And this will be the thing that I miss the most whenever we move out of this apartment. But I painted this wall, and you can see we have Mario's bikes here. In New York, it's just really easy to get around on a bike. I do not bike ride. The last time I tried to ride a bike, I borrowed one of Mario's. He made sure that the seat was in the right location. I didn't even make it off of our sidewalk. I hit the tire of a parked car that was right outside of our building, and I banged myself up, and I have not been on a bike since. But Mario rides his bikes quite often. And I mean, listen, do they take up a lot of space? Yes, they do, but they're kind of a necessity, and they make life easier, so I don't really mind. And I'm just gonna zoom you up. And above his bikes, we have a couple of things. We're both from St. Louis, and because Mario is a musician and a recording engineer, anything St. Louis and or record themed, we are gifted. And so this is a clock that my mother gave us one year, and it needs a new battery. It's fine. That's one of those things that's not gonna be perfect. My grandmother, I became a vegetarian, I think at like 19. I think that's like a pretty stereotypical college kid thing. I did it, it's fine, I'm still veg. But I come from like a very meat and potatoes family. And my grandmother, oh God, she was so great, but she was also like a real tough cookie. And when I first told her I was a vegetarian, she was like really annoyed. And then within a few months, she had handwritten these 3 recipes that she found in one of her magazines. And she sent them to me at college. And that was like her way of being like, here kiddo, I support you. And a few years ago, I was going through some cookbooks to set out on the street, because here in New York, when you are like purging or decluttering or cleaning and there's something that no longer serves you, you can set it out on the street for anybody in the community to take. It's one of my favorite things, honestly, but I found these hidden in a cookbook. So I framed them and I hung them here. And then the little one right here next to it, I don't even know if you can see me, but the little one over there, I had asked my grandfather for the same, because I really loved having these for my grandmother. I want to talk to you. Every year for Christmas, my grandfather makes pina coladas. They're something that my grandmother and I really enjoyed a lot. And my grandfather made the best ones, so I asked him if he would handwrite me his pina colada recipe so I could add them up there with my grandmother's. And he ended up printing it in like a size 10 font from his computer, because he told me his handwriting was too messy and he was embarrassed by it. But he didn't understand that that's actually what I really wanted. But in a way, I think it's the perfect addition. So we have, I'm very, very sentimental. I'm a Cancer sun. Take that for whatever you want. But I am very sentimental, and like home and family are really important to me. And so you'll see like we have a lot of that kind of vibe in this space. But on the opposite wall, where we have our oven and our stove, all right, not super exciting, there's an oven. But then up there, I have a friend on Instagram who is a block print artist. Her name is Lizzie Christian. Her handle is @RarePress. She did a limited edition run of these block prints a handful of years ago, and we were very lucky to get one, and it's one of my favorite things that we have in this kitchen. All right, now I had to kind of zoom back. This is all the storage we have in our kitchen. It's not a lot, especially when the 2 under the sink is just like pipes. So that's where we keep like our actual trash and cleaning supplies. And then pots are down here in this one that's like closest to us. And then we have like cups and extra cooking things like blenders. And then we have all of our plates and coffee cups and bowls in this one. But there's no pantry. And when we first moved into the apartment, I bought an IKEA plant rack, like a plant stand, because my vision was to put the plant stand in between the windows, because I like plants, especially in a place full of concrete. But then it very quickly became our pantry. So a very practical solution to a very common problem here in New York City. It doesn't look pretty, but it is. It gets the job done. And then you might be thinking like, well, what are those if you have your trash under the sink? One is for cans and plastic, and then one is for paper. So we just have a lot of like bins. And in an ideal world, they would be like hidden and you wouldn't see them. But we're working with 500 square feet, so that's what we got. And I think that like this was maybe meant for a microwave, But we haven't had a microwave since we moved in, so we just have like our coffees and our teas and extra coffee cups, and then like our breads and things up in this little section. And then extra storage up here. Nothing too exciting. And you're just gonna have to bear with me with the lighting. With the railroad, it's always like whatever, but we have our table back here, and we tried it in a couple of different spots, but this is where it works best. And honestly, I like it here because it allows us to put plants. Like it's usually just the two of us, and so the ends of the table often become a plant stand, and it is my favorite view in the apartment, being able to look over here and see all of this green. So this is from West Elm. I saw it and I thought it would be like a really cool thing to have over the table. I am a millennial, and so when we first moved into the apartment, I had spray painted a colander. And I had hung the colander over the table with like a pothos in it. And I wanted to upgrade, as one does as they get older. And so I saw this on West Elm, and my mother gifted it to us for Christmas one year. And I remember we were kind of like at our max capacity. So I had to take it out of the box to bring it on the plane. And I told myself, like, be very, very careful. And don't break it. Make sure everything's like solid on your shoulders. And when I tell you, I got out of my in-laws' car to hug them to walk into the airport, and the bag slipped off of my shoulder. We didn't even make it into the airport, and this was in like 50 pieces. But Mario pulled out some super glue when we got home, and he glued it back together. And so what I would like to do at some point is go in, I don't know how to pronounce it, but there's that like Japanese practice of covering cracks with gold. I really want to do that with this. I just haven't yet. Someday I will. But Mario rebuilt this after I destroyed it. That's a common theme in my life. I'm a huge klutz. So if you've been here, you maybe notice that I drink out of mason jars. That's not like a trendy aesthetic thing. That is a necessity. I once broke 6 cups in one because I had stacked them to wash them, and I knocked it over and they all shattered. So I am only allowed to use mason jars. That is my own requirement. Okay, let's keep going. So I often say that in my next apartment, I would love for the bathroom to not be off of the kitchen, because honestly, our kitchen table is right here, like right here. And then our bathroom is right here. And when it's just the two of us, that's cool. But when we have guests and like company staying for long periods of time, I think it would just be comfier for them to not have this right next to like the things. So here is the bathroom. And once again, no storage. So this was just like, Amazon, but this was just like an Amazon purchase. And it just gave us a lot of storage on the back side of the door. I would get this again 1,000 times over, because before it was just kind of everywhere. But let's go inside. Okay, this shower curtain is the newest addition to the apartment. I am really into like the 70s vibe of like the burnt oranges, and I really liked it because it pulled in the color that was like on the kitchen wall into the bathroom. And you can see like right here is the trim. So I painted the trim this green, and then this brings in that burnt orange, which I really love. So once again, there's no storage in the bathroom. That's it. Bare bones. So we have the thing on the door. This sign above the toilet, Pro Row was purchased by an organization called Noise for Now. And I think it was 2016, 2017, they were doing a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood. And so I purchased that during that time. And women's healthcare is a significant thing. So support it when and however you can. And I think it was probably around like 2021, I developed a little thing for skeleton arts. Maybe because we were all feeling a little bit dead inside at the time. I don't know. But this is from Carson Ellis. And this was a work that was created, I think, if I'm not mistaken, just as like a personal project. But then as it grew in popularity, the proceeds from this piece went to trans organizations. And that's when I purchased it. It is honestly one of my favorite things that we have in the apartment. And then this is from an artist whose name is Maggie Luck. We purchased that just because it was bright and colorful, then a skeleton. And then below, you're gonna hear my neighbors vacuuming. It's New York, what do you expect? And then below it, we have two pieces from Jill Kittock. She is an incredible artist on Instagram, love her work so much. And she had these two, I don't even know what they are. Are they like risographs? But skeletons, and they're really fun, and we added them to this as well. And so all in, that is what the collection looks like in our very tiny bathroom on the wall. And honestly, I think that there's no better place for skeletons than in the bathroom. And I didn't talk about this when we were in the kitchen, so I'll go ahead and just kind of... This was a bookshelf that I had in my very first apartment in St. Louis, and it has been in every apartment since, and it rotates, which is really nice. So I'm not going to show you because it's a total mess back there. And I know we're being realistic, but leave some things to the imagination. We also don't have like a full-length mirror in the apartment, so this serves that purpose, and it's nice to have it by the door so you can just make sure, like for me, my hair's not out of control, maybe just a little messy, okay? And then on the back of it, we have like foil and liquor and all of our 45 records because there's nowhere else for them to go. So it really is just like a hodgepodge of things back here. And then here's our fridge. And then above the refrigerator, it doesn't look very pretty. This is where we keep more pantry items. And then there's like a little cubby of storage up there where we keep just odds and ends that we don't use, but also the Christmas decorations because your girl likes Christmas. So that's where we keep all of that. And that is this portion of our apartment. Let's move into the next one. All right, I will mention real fast, this is just another one of those West Elm planters. I did not break this one, don't worry. This one made it back in one piece, but they match. This is just a single one versus the double one. All right, so I kind of think about our apartment in like halves. So like this half is our communal living space. We have our bathroom and our kitchen, and then this is our living room / my art studio. I have about a third of the living room for my art business and practice, and then the rest of it is just our living space. For those of you who don't know, I was a teacher for 16 years and then I left, I had a stroke. Then I took over part of the living room for the art practice that I had started in 2017. Okay, I'm gonna bring you in and we'll go through some of this together. So for those of you who don't know, I know I mentioned I'm a full-time artist, but I create things out of hand-cut paper because I was an elementary school teacher for 16 years and construction paper was like comfy for me. I've moved into more of like the fine art space. I still do commissions like family portraits and dog portraits, and I really enjoy those, but it's been nice to kind of stretch my practice and to be able to grow my vision of what I dream possible. So my work is absolutely centered around liberation and themes of liberation. And this is part of my Quilt Square collection. The idea that we can build or create a new quilt for society, one quilt square at a time. We don't have to accept what is, we can build what we envision possible. The first part of that is actually dreaming of what's possible, right? But this is part of that collection. And in all honesty, I didn't have any intention of hanging it. It just happened because we had 3 shelves here hanging for nearly a decade, and when we took them off, there's holes behind these that I need to patch that I didn't want to patch in the moment because I had just spent like 6 weeks painting the entire apartment, and then when those shelves came down, the last thing I wanted to do was more spackle and paint, so I hung I had 6, so it was perfect. I hung them here, and that is going to be a task for this summer for me. And so this is a pretty typical workspace. I have a computer here and a monitor, which is big and nice, especially when I'm doing editing. I can pull it so it's close and I can see all the little details. And then I just have drawers below this for all of my storage. I have another container below with all of my, like some of my smaller papers. And then I told you all before that I was like really sentimental. And so I have like my dad's mother's ashtray and my brother's baby cup. My dad had 2 families. I was part of his second family. That's fine. And my brother was part of his first family, and he was just somebody we really adored, but he passed away my freshman year of college. He was 45. And so since then, his like baby sister, part of the first marriage, so the third of that group, has given me some of his belongings, which has been really, really nice. And then over here, I have a picture of my grandparents. Look how cute they are. I was given this photo when my grandmother passed. If you've been here, this is the grandmother who is sending me pennies. This is a photo of my little sister and me and my brother. He was just a really cool human, and I adored him. And so you'll probably see some of his stuff around, but I have these on my workspace because I think that there's something with surrounding yourself with, I don't know, things and people that you love. So this is my workspace. This is where I spend most days. Nothing super fancy, but I'm really, really grateful. And I'm really grateful that when I took over a third of this living room, there was no pushback. It was actually encouraged. So, you know, take your wins where you can get them. And one of the things that was the most challenging about this space is that it's like super, super narrow. And it's a thing, right? It's like the thing that made it most difficult, but also a thing that we're really grateful for. It's like really narrow, but it's really tall. So we have like, I don't know, 12 or 14 foot ceilings. But because of that, this space and the bedroom always felt really cavernous. Anytime we would put art on the walls, it still felt like the wall was massive, and it just never felt really like cozy. And you know, I'm all about a vibe. So in 2021, we hung these shelves and we were able to get our books out of purgatory on the expedite shelf in the office. And up until that moment, I was doing a very regular book purge, like once a year, setting out a bunch of books on the street. Once again, setting them out on the street so that people would take them. They always got taken. But now, I mean, I love books. I love literature. I was a literature major. I want a home filled with books and music and art. And so I'm really grateful that we have these 3 shelves. We're actually outgrowing them. And I want to add some in the bedroom. I'll show you where when we get there. But this has been, I think, one of the best additions to the space that we have done, maybe forever. And okay, once again, I'm super sentimental. It's cool. On this shelf, we have some things. In addition to like all of our books, I have 2 pieces of artwork that were my grandmother's. I think they're just like prints, but we have those back there and they will be revealed when we get our new bookshelves, our additional bookshelves. But we have like little things on the shelf that are really, I don't know, nice. But we have this little painting of Cyndi Lauper from a friend of ours in St. Louis. She sent this to us. So we put this up here, and we have a little Care Bear. I couldn't tell you where this came from. Like my first year teaching, it showed up, and Mario and I started dating around that time, and for the first birthday that I knew him on, I stuck it on his cake. We still have this thing. And then just a bunch of other like little knickknacks and what have you. And we try to bring in like some dried flowers. It's really dark, but we have some like eucalyptus here because I really want natural things. So we have some like dried eucalyptus back here, and then we have up here just some like dried little daisies. These gold lights, because we need all of the light. We have one there, we have 2 here. Those are from West Elm. And I think they just make the space really cozy. And our couch is very basic. It's just from Article. It's really comfy. And it's the Svin sofa. And honestly, I don't know if you saw this. I hung a nail here because I was doing some experimenting before I sent a piece off for a show. And I came out and Mario had hung one of these little skeletons on that nail. So, you know, I'm not going to question it. We're just going to leave it there for the time being. Once again, it's not a perfectly polished space, but it is a lived-in home. But that is this half of the living room. So now we're going to switch it over to this half of the living room. Okay, we did not have a television for a very long time. And then I think It was probably around 2017 that we ended up getting a television. And I have really mixed feelings about there being such a large television in such a small living room. However, we watch a lot of movies. And it was really nice to be able to graduate from the two of us kind of huddled around a laptop, to be able to just lounge on the couch and watch a movie. So we have a large television right across from our couch, but someday whenever we move, like the bathroom, that is something that I would like to, maybe reconsider. Okay, but like on this half of the apartment, in addition to this large television, I have very few records. I have maybe 10 records on this shelf. Mostly it's Mario's record collection. I really lucked out in that. He worked at a record store in St. Louis, shout out Vintage Vinyl, for a long time. And we love music, and he was able to really expand his record collection. So we have a lot of records. I built the shelf though. When we moved in, we didn't have anywhere for the records to go. And we had just crates of records. And I was like, no, man, we can't do this. And so I think within a year of moving in, I pulled out some construction paper and a pen and a ruler, and I got to measuring. It's not perfect. It was definitely my first time, but I just went to Home Depot and I purchased a large piece of wood, and they cut the length and the width for me. And so I was able to then bring the wood and the pipes home, and I spent a day sawing and drilling and measuring and staining and painting in the kitchen. But I have to say, I'm very proud of myself. We needed an extra support at the end because the pipes would cause the records to kind of bow. And so we got these aluminum plates, and I was like, yo, from the kitchen, that just looks ugly. It's just like a silver square. So I created, our girlfriend painted Cyndi Lauper. There's four of us that are really good friends, me and Mario, and then our friends Jamie and James. And Jamie and James are also from St. Louis, but they don't both live there anymore. And just Jamie. But I created Cyndi Lauper, She's So Unusual, out of paper to hide here. Because I was like, yo, I'm going to make a record cover so it camouflages this aluminum, and it fits because it's a record shelf. So this is one of the first projects that I did, and definitely one of the larger ones. And it's out of construction paper. This is before I even graduated to the really fancy art papers, but all hand drawn, hand cut, hand assembled. Cyndi Lauper, who doesn't love her? So she protects our records. And Cyndi and I share the same birthday, shout out. But we also have these little planters here, and they're neon pink, which I really love. And they're really cool. They're from somebody who no longer creates art for sale. And these were just a one-time thing. I think her name is Colleen Elizabeth. She did a small run of these, and I grabbed them because I love having greenery and plants around. And this was just a housewarming gift, a handmade little vase from one of my dearest friends from Denver. And when I used to host Thanksgiving every year, and our friend from India brought us a little elephant for some good luck, and I just really love it. And then my dad, who knew? I didn't know because I didn't know him. He also did a lot of made a lot of things. So he made jewelry, and he did some woodworking, but he made this candle stand. And when he passed, this was one of the things that my sister from his first marriage gave me. And it's funny because I do remember seeing this when I was really, really little, and it still smells how I remember it, whatever scented candle was on here. But my dad made this, and I just like having handmade family things. So that's there. And then above the television, people always call it my moonstruck inspiration. And I'm not gonna deny that. I think that that's pretty spot on. But above our television, we have our grandparents. Because I was like, what else can we put up there that doesn't feel like whatever? And so these are my dad's folks, my mom's folks, Mario's mom's folks, and Mario's dad's folks. And I really, really love having them up there. And then lastly, in this space, we have one of my favorite little corners. I think it was Christmas of 2020. Mario and I both gifted each other like what I think are some pretty spectacular little gifts. He got me this hot pink lava lamp. It's like pink and purple. Love it. It's honestly one of my favorite things. I had a lava lamp in like middle school, and I think I gave it to my niece at some point. So this was like, made me so happy. I turn it on all the time. And then my honey really likes Care Bears, which is cool because I also really like Care Bears. And I found an original cell from one of the Care Bear, I think, cousin animations. And so I purchased Grumpy Bear for him, which was like the perfect bear. And I think that like, it's so bright and colorful and so cute. I think it's just like a perfect complement with the lava lamp. And honestly, like, we don't have a lot of neon in the space, but we both really love neon. So I think like this works. And then having the little hot pink planters on the other side, it kind of balances it out. All right, so this room is 100% the bane of my existence. However, I am incredibly grateful that we have it. I am someone who it takes a lot of care to stay organized and for things to have a place, and it just helps keep me like mentally clear so I can focus on the tasks that need to happen. And this room tends to be one that is a little bit more chaotic. However, that's okay because it's Mario's workspace. And then by default, because I have transitioned out of the classroom and am doing art full time, it has become like a catch-all. So it also has an overflow of my art supplies and has become a bit of a storage as well. Honestly, it's Mario's home studio. It's funny, I don't know when or why we started calling it the office, because it's not really an office, it's a home recording studio. He works at a studio up in Greenpoint. That is where he does his work. But then he also has a setup here so he can do what he needs to for personal projects and what have you. And also he does a lot of client work here too. I mean, this is really just, he does a lot of stuff in here. So I'll bring you in and we'll experience this together. All right, so this wall is, I don't know, I love it. Mario commissioned one of our friends in St. Louis, Dana Smith. He is an incredible artist. He just does these really incredible paintings of the city and of the nightlife and the art scene, and it's just, I adore his work. Mario commissioned him to do one of his record covers. And so this is for that, and that is here. And then I created these for Mario for just like Bandcamp, whatever he was putting up. Nothing that was like a big release. This was for a bigger release. And then just another thing that I made for him. And then that is Steve Keen up here. And if you are in New York or if you're familiar with his work, that's what that is. So now we can kind of get into the space. I have a little walkway here. This is the printer for my business, so I can print the prints, of course. And I have just like some things here, some new products that I'm considering because I want to get into markets. And then I have this piece that I've been vlogging about. This is done. I need to get it framed. So this is sitting here until I have a minute to get it framed, but it's just kind of out of the way. This is See, there's just stuff everywhere, so I'm always bumping into guitars. But this is that. So let me pull you, I don't actually even know the best way to do this. So you can kind of see, it's like very narrow, just a lot of storage, man, because we don't have storage. We don't have a basement thing. I forgot to mention, Mario's closet is a little closet. It's our coat closet in the living room. So that's his like personal closet. But this is our catch-all. Eventually I would love to get cabinets, once again waiting for that perfect video. That's not what this is. I want to get cabinets that have doors, so you can close them and you don't see all of this. But right now we've got the same expedite shelf that we've had in this space since we moved in, because it just holds so much stuff. So it has like extra records and lots of art supplies and hardware and tools and things. And then this is Mario's setup here in the corner. There's not really terribly too much in the space besides just storage. So we're gonna keep moving into the final room. We're in the caboose, perhaps, and this is the bedroom. And this is honestly like the kitchen. It's one of the rooms with the largest amount of space. So that's really nice. It makes our sleeping area really cozy. But this is it. My closet. There's nothing terribly exciting inside of it. I'll spare you. And then honestly, I believe it wouldn't be Brooklyn without a fireplace somewhere. This building was built, I think, in 1930. I'm pretty sure this was like a tenement building. And we have like where the stove is in the kitchen, that used to be a fireplace. This used to be a fireplace. Maybe these were like tenement buildings at some point. I don't know, a focal point in the bedroom, and I really love it. And there's a bunch of stuff on it that I love, and well, this is like the one space that I will have like me and Mario specific things, if that makes sense. I mean, the whole apartment is me and Mario things, but like we have our vows and then a couple of like wedding photos. And then I recreated our song for our wedding is You and Me by Penny and the Quarters. And so for our first anniversary, he got me the single on record, which is difficult to find. And this is one of my most treasured possessions. I break and lose everything, so we frame this and it's like safe, okay? For somebody who is so sentimental, I think there's like some cruel irony that I am such a klutz. That's a story for a different time. But then I recreated that record because I wanted to just try something different in lockdown with my art. So I recreated a version of that. But we have some building, like structural support stars from St. Louis that I don't know, I really like to have. I feel really lucky to have those. And then just some green, because I like my plants. But this photograph is from a South City, St. Louis, like legend, Bob Reuter. He passed away maybe 2013, and they did like a big celebration selling a bunch of his work because he was just prolific. And I wanted this of St. Louis because St. Louis is one of the most beautiful places, and I really just felt like this kind of captured part of the city. Okay, wedding photos, yay! And then here's the art that I recreated. Okay, and my friend Jessica Webb is a photographer. She sent this for a holiday card one year, and this was the wedding flower. And so I saved it because it was such a beautiful photograph. Here's the record, wedding photo, and then, vows. But this up here Mario's grandfather made that for us as a wedding gift. Don't look at how crumbly those lines are. You can see the wall has just like shredded with the construction. But his Nono is he'll be 102 in August, and he made that for us for our wedding. And I just feel really, really lucky that we have such a beautiful piece. And then nothing terribly exciting, but my dresser. And this is where I store all of my like big paper. I buy a lot of paper in bulk because you can get it cheaper. And also, when I do commissions, I never know what color I'm gonna need. It's really nice to be able to just pop into the bedroom and get whatever paper I need. So I have lots and lots and lots of paper. And then this is a frame for that piece that's in the office that I need to frame. But once again, we have really tall ceilings in here. So we hung these 3 shelves a few years ago just to expand. Like, you know, we have things that mean a lot to us. So we hung those here. And I mentioned that I want to add more shelves in the bedroom. What I want to do is I have this mirror right here. We're just gonna see me, it's fine. I have this mirror here above my dresser. I wanna get rid of the mirror, and I wanna get rid of these 3 shelves behind us, and I wanna get more like 3-foot shelves, like 3 shelves here. I can put those things here. We can continue to grow our book collection, and I would really like to have like some sort of plant that can survive really low light in between the windows here in the bedroom, because the window is always just a tad dark. But once again, I was waiting for all of this stuff to be done before I did this video, and this is not a perfect home, but it's like a beloved home, so we're working with it. And you might be like, hey Alexis, you should open this curtain or this blind here. And I would say, oh, that's a great idea, however, it's broken. Once again, something that was preventing me from recording this tour, and we're just working with it. It doesn't open. We'll replace it eventually. But we have these shelves here, and they're just filled with things that mean a lot. Like, I don't know if you saw the pampas grass when I showed you the stained glass from Nono. When I was growing up, we had like pampas grass on our fireplace. And so it's like a very nostalgic thing that because I like nostalgia. I wanted to bring some of that in. And then we also had this cat. I'm not particularly a cat person, but I loved this cat growing up. And so when I moved to New York, my mom brought it in a suitcase. And this thing is not light, but she brought it for me. And it's just like, I don't know, a cat from like, I don't even know when, the 70s, the 80s. It's from Mexico, I know that much. But there's no date on it. And I just have always really loved this cat. And so DW made this poster. He's a dear friend of ours. And for Mario's last big hurrah in St. Louis before he moved here, DW made this poster. And I flew back to St. Louis to surprise Mario on his last night, because I was like, when else am I going to be able to like do something like this? Because I was already in New York. And then I flew home and surprised him, and I swiped this out of the bathroom. It's fine, because it's such a treasured artifact in our life now. But he played all 3 of these bands, and it was his like last night as a proper St. Louisan. And so we have that, and I'm really grateful to have it. And then we just have a bunch of stuff from like my grandmother. This is where I'm, if you've been here and you've seen me collecting all those pennies, I have all of my pennies in here. And eventually they will go into artwork. And then in this corner over here is a chair that I got for very cheap from my first apartment that we had in the living room for a long time. But I'll just sit here and talk on the phone sometimes. But this was a quilt that my dad's mother had made that I got when he passed. And it was the inspiration for the Afghan in that first community piece, if you've been here for a minute. So this was that like black and neon quilt here. And then I think that's it. This wraps it up. If I'm being for real, this was like what I was waiting to fix. This wall behind me. You see how tall that is? There's nothing on it. And I kept thinking that I would find something that I wanted to put on this wall. I don't have anything, and I don't want to rush and get something, because then I know that I'm just going to end up not enjoying it in the long term, you know? Like, I really do believe that there has to be some inspiration. Otherwise, it doesn't stand, like, longevity-wise. I think in the short term, it's going to end up being storage for my community collection, the We Belong to Each Other, just because they're so large, right? I think I'm going to end up hanging them on this wall just to keep them safe. And that's the apartment. Thank you for coming along, man. I have been wanting to do this for so long. I hope that you enjoyed seeing a very, very realistic living situation here in Brooklyn, New York. No frills, but like, man, a lot of love poured into this space. Not to sound cheesy, but there's a lot of ourselves and myself poured into making this a home, because New York is not just like a stop for us. It is the place where we have planted roots and want to continue to plant roots and want to continue to invest in our community and in our life here. So almost 20 years in, cheers to another 20. And I just want to thank you for spending your time with me. I do hope that you appreciated maybe a more authentic lens into an apartment here that's not a luxury high-rise, but a really cute old building that is just no frills, but is deeply loved. So thank you for spending your time. And if you found enjoyment here, I would really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I know people tend to get very opinionated about decorating choices. That's cool. I heard a lot of opinions when I did my first post. This is what I like, and this is what Mario is down for, and so this is our home. And I hope that you find a way to decorate your home in a way that speaks to who you are and brings you joy and brings you peace. If you would like to subscribe, I would be truly honored. We have just over 900 of you all, and I'm going to be frank with y'all. I'm going to be very honest. I am really hoping to get to 1,000 by mid-July. I was saying June because I was shooting early, but I'm hoping to reach 1,000 by mid-July. So if there's 70 of you who watch this, if you subscribed, you would help me reach that point. And I would be truly, truly honored and grateful that you are deciding to follow along as I rebuild my life as a full-time artist here in Brooklyn, New York, after tremendous burnout and a stroke event. So here's to significant life change and the courage to carve your own path forward. But with all of that being said, lastly, whatever time of day you've watched this, I hope it's been a kind one. Until next time.